Hi, I really loved the potential of this shot when I saw it. This is the raw file that I'm just showing you now, and I'm just going to walk you through my editing process. As you know, I don't usually spend a lot of time on editing, but sometimes I just love to play with an image. I like the boldness of the hard contrast in this shot. We have lost detail in the castle due to the hard contrast, but at the same time I quite like the bold shapes and composition that gives. So I ended up doing quite a few different versions of this shot, but don't you just love playing with the clarity slider on a landscape shot like this, where you've got the texture of the grass, the texture of the water, the direct sunlight coming through. I just love playing with the clarity slider. And I had a lot of fun editing this shot. As you can see in the sky, there's a little bit that needs tidying up just from dust and things. So I attended to that first of all, and then I just started to play really. So the main things I was aware of is I wanted to keep the impact of the shot because I love the hard contrast, but I also wanted to bring in a little bit of detail of the sun and in the castle. But I also I created various versions of this, which I'm going to share at the end, because as I say, I do like the impact of the hard contrast. So sometimes a vignette can just bring the sun back in, but I found with this one it didn't really work. I didn't really want a vignette on this shot because I like it as it is, right to the edge. So I just had to play around with the highlights. I did give the shot some clarity in some edits, and then I played around with the highlights to bring the sun, so it's more of a starry shape there, and there's just a little bit more interest in the shape of the sun. So that was done with highlights. I always add a little bit of sharpen and a little bit of noise reduction. I find that when I export out of Lightroom, you can see more noise than you can see when you're editing them, because obviously it compresses it to a JPEG, whereas you're viewing the raw when you're working on it within the program. So as you can see, I had loads of fun. I did export one version already here, and then I just went through some different things and just had some real fun creating like more of an autumnal warm look, which I love. That can be done just by playing with your colour balance, obviously putting a filter in, or your white balance, adjusting the white balance. Yeah, so I did put a vignette on this version, just a tiny vignette, just to pull the eye in. I wonder if I took it back off again. Let's see what I did. It was a little while ago now, but I love the highlights in the water. So this is where I decided that in this version I wanted the detail in the castle, but as you can see, when you lift the shadows, it lifts the shadows of all the trees, and then you lose the contrast of the shot, and I didn't want to do that. I just wanted the detail, the shadows lifted on the castle, so I decided to mask it out and then just lift the shadows in that one area. So I don't usually go to this much trouble these days, but this shot just really inspired me. So as you can see there, now we have the detail in the castle without sacrificing the hard contrast of the water, the river and the water, and the rest of the shot. Because the shadows, if you just use the shadow slider, you lose the richness in the rest of the image. I really love landscapes in black and white as well, guys. What do you think? Let me know which version of this shot you like the best. Do you like the black and white? Do you like seeing the detail in the castle? I could have brought out even more detail, but as I say, I just liked the mystery of it as it was. so I didn't bring it through too much. Just enough to show that textural detail in the shadows there. So here's the first edit. The raw file is on the left, edited version on the right. And then we had more of an autumnal look, changing the colour balance and just bringing out the detail in the castle there. And then I also did some black and white shots, black and white edits, sorry. And I think, again, the ones with enough detail in the shadows and the highlights, that the sky is not bleached out where the sun is, and you can see some detail in the castle is best, in my opinion. I like that. I like the clarity being quite high in this shot. But what do you think? Let me know. Actually, I've just noticed the sloping horizon here going down slightly, so that could definitely do with being adjusted, just by cropping it and tilting it round slightly. The sparkle on the water just is such a beautiful lead-in line to give a great journey around the image to the eye, and just the bank of the river there, just all leading the eye in. As you can see, the highlights are blown in the sparkle on the water. Would you try and tone the highlights down here to bring in any detail? Often when the highlights are blown like that, there's no information to retrieve, so you don't often get the detail back in highlights like you can in shadows. I don't think they're too offensive because the highlights on the water are not too big, you know, it's quite a narrow line of highlights, so I chose to just leave that as it is. I think this shot could potentially also pull off more of a panoramic view. I wanted to get closer to the castle, right, and really play with the viewpoint, but I couldn't find a way in. I couldn't see a way in. It was like you weren't allowed to go in there, and I drove around looking for an entrance and I couldn't find one, so I'm not sure what the deal is with getting closer. But I took all of these shots from the bridge. Well, this is only one shot edited different ways. There's plenty more shots I will share with you soon, but yeah, let me know what you think. Would you have got more detail in those shadows? Would you have lifted the area on the right with the trees and the area and the part of the castle right on the far left to lift more shadows? Or do you like the contrast here? Would love to hear from you. And I just want to say, I just had so much fun. I drove past this castle, if you can imagine. I'm just driving along and I go over this bridge, and I've never seen this castle before in my life. I've seen it for the first time with this sun on the river. Can you imagine how excited I was when I saw this view for the first time in my life? It was just amazing, and I just jumped out the car and ran over and started taking pictures. And that kind of exploration and adventure is, for me, such a healing thing, such a heart-opening experience, just to be out seeing something for the first time. Just take a bold step towards whatever it is that you want to do. The magic that you can come across in nature and the seasons and the landscapes and the world or the country that you're in, wherever you are, it really can be so uplifting. And this really was. I had the experience of capturing the castle, and then I had the editing to look forward to, because I knew that I'd got a great shot, and so then I was looking forward to downloading the photos and saving them and then working on them and then sharing them. It's like you get like this 4-step process almost out of one photographic experience. You get to relive it a few times over after you've taken the shot. And then if you print them out, that's another experience on top. Printing, framing your work, having an exhibition, sharing your inspirations with others. It's really just so good for the soul.